Welcome back to Arsenal Pass Limited Time Only, episode 3.5. This week, no full episode of the podcast with a guest. This is a video-only episode, sorry to our audio listeners, and a bit of a bonus episode since I am traveling this weekend, not recording with anyone. But this is a draft that I did, and a draft walkthrough from this past week. I've been drafting a lot with outsiders, as you know, and I wanted to do a bit of a draft walkthrough to go over some of the things that we've been talking about on Limited Time Only with some of my guests over the past couple of weeks, and some things that we will continue to talk about, including deep dives on heroes as we head through this Outsiders Limited season. Now, Limited Time Only is a podcast that focuses on all things limited in flesh and blood. If you're not already subscribed to the Arsenal Pass YouTube channel, then please go and do so. Really appreciate it. And this draft in particular that we're looking at today is a draft from last week. It is a draft here locally in Sydney with some good players in the pod, some very good players in the pod. And I went into this draft with an idea of wanting to test a few things. I'm at a stage where I'm looking to not necessarily force archetypes, not force things, but definitely looking for particular things in my draft. I want to learn a lot more about Riptide in particular. I want to learn a lot more about Azalea to a degree as well, and Katsu. Those are the kind of things that I'm really interested in. So I am heading into some of these drafts and testing, looking to position myself into some of those heroes. Maybe, I'm not, as I say, not forcing them, but maybe putting myself into positions to draft those a bit more. And with this close picks, I'm moving to the side of wanting to be into one of those heroes or one of those archetypes. And you will see them then in this draft. And I think this is a really good draft to look at something and a concept that we've talked a little bit about, and we're going to talk more about in the next coming weeks is sort of pivoting and reading the table. So you'll see the things we talked about last week, such as pack distributions. So if you would like to see more of these videos, then please let us know in the comments. Let me know what you think of this draft. Let me know what you might have done differently in this draft, what picks you might have taken, or how you might have navigated this draft yourself, because there is, as I say, a number of really interesting picks, including our pack one, pick one. So let's go ahead and get into it. Pack one, pick one. So opening up the pack here, immediately kind of first thing I want to do is pack distribution, so I know for the rest of the draft. So first up, looking at what's the split of our generics and our class cards. So it looks like we've got the 3 generics, 6 class cards, and then a couple of good cards at the back. A hybrid card, crap. So yeah, 2 assassin, 2 ranger, 2 ninja. The 2 ninja cards are really powerful, so immediately pulling those to the front. I think Twin Twisters and Be Like Water are both really good cards. Just now pulling the cards I think that are first pickable, Lace with Blood Rot Trap, and Threadbare Tunic. Now, going to this draft, I wanted actually to ideally draft Riptide as part of my testing, so I was favoring here to actually look to take a pick that could set me up into that, and then if I got cut off, then that's that, and I just kind of move away from it, but I did want to try and do that. So just taking a look at cards I might take first pick. I think Lace with Blood Rot, fantastic card in Riptide, but then I am passing like the Trap. I think if I want to go Riptide, I want to take the Trap. That also leaves me open to potentially going Assassin. The other pick that I think is probably maybe just a better safe pick is Threadbare Tunic. The other thing I could do is try and cut the Ninja card and take the Twin Twisters there. Is also an option, so I actually just skipped a little bit. Yeah, Threadbare Tunic I think is just one of the most powerful equipment I think you can have, specifically in Ranger and Assassin. I think it's a little bit less good in Ninja though. So, but as I say, Twin Twist is a really powerful card. One of the cards I think is pretty high on my first pick list. So yeah, all these cards I think are pretty good first picks. Be Like Water maybe the weakest of these 5 here. But I think Blood Rot Trap opens me up the most, takes a hybrid card, doesn't really send a signal to my left, but neither would necessarily take in the Twin Twisters, because it could have been a 4 generic pack, and my opponent, my person to my left, may have thought that, you know, I just took a really good red generic like Come to Fight or Scout the Periphery, etc. So yeah, in the end, we're going to decide to go with the Blood Rot Trap. Then onto pick 2 now. And in terms of just other things that could wheel, I guess. So if I end up in Riptide, there is a blue Sedation Shot, which is a perfectly fine card to wheel as well. Blue Come to Fight also, but I don't think that would necessarily wheel, to be honest. When I say wheel, if you're not familiar, I mean come around again to me for the pick. Okay, so same thing here. I'm going to drop these down a little bit lower. I'm going to sort through these cards and again pull the generics to the front. Equipment there is Toxic Tips, pretty good equipment. I see a yellow lead out. Station shops with some color. And it looks like there's another Trap in the back of the pack here as well, which I'm sure I'm about to flick through once I get through. So yeah, 3 generics. Looks like 2 ninja cards in the pack. 2 assassin cards, and potentially either now a ranger or a generic card missing. And now this has got me thinking, okay, has the person to my left taken a generic? Have they taken a ranger card? Because that slot is missing somewhere. It's the pendulum trap, and there's a red bleed out actually. So a pretty reasonable pick. I think that card is a lot better in ninja than it is in something like assassin, for instance. But I do think it's still good in assassin. I just think it's a lot better in ninja. I mean, trap is what I pull to the front. Frailty trap. I just think, you know, I'm kind of already on this. Other destructive deliberation, I really like that card as well. Toxic tips, I'm not particularly interested in. Spire sniping, if I wanted to go in Azalea, I think is a card that I would look at here as well. But destructive deliberation is probably the easy safe pick. That card's really good in Azuri. That card's just really good as a threat that basically threatens to give you that Ponta token and replace itself while still coming in for 5, being really difficult to block out, forcing 2 cards. But I think, you know, Frailty Trap to the front here, because I'm thinking that I want to ideally go into Ranger. I don't know if Ranger card's been taken to this pack. It could well have been a generic. So I think, you know, this still leaves me over to Assassin or Ninja. It doesn't necessarily send a signal to my left, but 2 hybrid cards in a row taken. You know, it's really signaling that I think, you know, probably Ninja is open, especially the 2 cards have passed, and a head jab in that pack as well. So staying pretty open at this point. Again, going to sort these cards. I want to know the pack distribution and see what the person to my right's taken. I want to try and find out as much information as possible. So red scout the periphery is a pretty big signal, I think, that range is going to be available. I think that's a really high priority pick, and especially when there's a spire sniping in the pack. It feels like at this point, it seems like Ranger might be, you know, the person to my right is probably Ninja, I'm thinking at this point. But we'll see once we ruffle through these cards. Yeah, so it looks like we have 2 Ninja cards. So there is 4 generics in this pack. There's 2 Ninja cards, so actually maybe not. Only 1 Ranger card, hybrid card still there. 2 Ninja cards, yeah. So, but there's a blue. So an Assassin card has been taken, or Assassin or a Ranger card has been taken from this pack, which makes it a little bit more difficult for my draft. But I assume it's Assassin card, just seeing that there's still a red Spire sniping, really great Azalea card, and a red Scout the periphery, which is great. Both Rangers, particularly in Riptide. So I feel that even if there is maybe a Ranger, I think it's probably more likely an Assassin. So Ninja maybe probably at this point is thinking it's Assassin to my right. And then just pulling through again, so still quite a number of generics in this pack. Got the double Seeker's Gilet pack, the foil and the non-foil at this point. So we're missing at least 1 generic from the pack. From a class card perspective, what are we missing? There's 2 Ninja cards again in this pack. So, and 2 Ranger, which I think is a pretty good sign that I may be in the right spot, although could be argued that had I taken the Twin Twisters, I'd be in a really good Ninja seat right now. I think maybe had I been drafting and wanted to stay a bit open, wasn't testing as much, I might have just taken a Ninja card here. Or Yellow Come to Fight is also reasonable, but it is a blue 3 block, which is good, like a blue 3 block. So what you want for your Kadachis, I'm talking about the 1-2 punch here as a potential take. But Seeker's Gilet, also a really solid take. I want chess pieces. I think in the end, basically, I'm thinking if I want to end up in Ranger, I probably really want a Tunic, and that, you know, Gilet, I might get a chess piece later on. I'll just take the block 3, the pump spell that I really want. I actually think, thinking back on it, I probably should have just taken a Gilet, to be honest. Okay, here we go, and another trap in this pack, and a red Widowmaker, plus another Ranger card. So Ranger looking fairly open at this point, although it could well have been that generic pumps have been taken. Maybe there's been some rare Ranger cards. Still 2 Ninja cards in the pack. It looks like Assassin is like pretty heavily drafted at this point, is the way it's looking. Yeah, I just pick up a trap there. So feeling pretty good about my trap situation. Good base of a Riptide deck. I probably need to start seeing some good red arrows now, though. And if I don't, then that's going to be a concern. And as you see when we get to this pack, Ninja looks really open. Mask of Many Faces in this pack. A good, you know, a couple of yellows that go well in Ninja. A red 1-2 punch, and look at that. 1 Assassin card, but it's the rare. No Ninja cards and no Assassin commons. That's what's at the back. Yeah, it's a foil short and sharp. So, yeah, look, feeling like I'm in a bit of an awkward spot here. It could have just been that there was either 1 Ranger or one Assassin card in that pack. So not too bad. So I'm just gonna try and open myself up a little bit more here. Take just a really good yellow generic here and then see what comes of it. Okay, now we get a red arrow and a red stealth card. Plus Fleetfoot Sandals, which could be a reasonable pick here, but I only really want that if I'm going to be in something like a Zuri, for instance, or Ninja. So I end up taking the red arrow here. Still trying to get on that Riptide if I can. I think red, I think Guy Bounce Shot is a reasonable card. And then we get past a pack with, yeah, good ninja cards, some okay assassin cards, and no ranger cards. So what I'm thinking is that basically the far end of the table is like multiple rangers. There might even be 3 in a row. Then probably an assassin and maybe a ninja or someone who's stayed open. It could be 2 assassins, but it doesn't look like there's 2 assassins. It's probably more likely that I've got 2 or 3 rangers in a row and an assassin and a ninja. So at this point I'm thinking, okay, maybe I need to hedge into assassin. Let's see what comes. Yeah, that sedation shot wheels. The red be like water wheels, which tells me that probably only 1 ninja drafter at the table, or at least it was 1 who saw the pack. Maybe someone down this far end of the table, and then someone to my left is not yet a ninja, but might move in. So still pulling that sedation shot, still holding out hope that maybe I can draft Riptide here, but also looking at that blue Razor's Edge. Kind of, I think this is kind of a point where I have to make a little bit of it, well, at least kind of start towards a decision, because I can't take too many more picks and not be committed to a hero. And then, yeah, just no assassin, no ranger. This pack originally had, I took from the bleed out pack, that was a trap pick. Okay, so at this point, I took in that one. Yeah, so I ended up just taking what I think is the best card in the pack, which is the bleed out, which again, you know, I've just taken a ranger card, I've just taken a card that's can only be played in assassin in my deck. Yeah, blue Twin Twisters, yellow feisty locals. At this point, it looks like I'm probably just going to have to hit down the assassin route. I don't think there's assassins to my left. I think it's probably the ninja to my left, or I've probably put people more into potentially ranger and azalea. I pass a lot of red spire sniping, so I think maybe someone to my left might have gone to azalea. So I'm not feeling too bad if I pivot to assassin here. I'm probably in an okay seat. I think even if there's 2 assassins to my right, I'm going to get the run on this pack too, and I should be able to get enough good cards. I think just the yellow spring load here is a reasonable card in assassin, and I would probably play it in my Riptide deck if I did. Yeah, just pick up a blue there. Last pick blue, Deathly Duo. So Deadly Duo. So looking here, I mean, got a pretty good foundation for at least a strong defensive deck, whether that's Riptide or it's something like Azuri or Arachne. If I don't pick up any good swappers, so any good powerful generic swappers, cards to swap in off stealth, I'm probably just going to end up trying to play Arachne in that case. Which is fine. So my power cards at this point are 3 traps, a scout, the periphery, a yellow, cut down, and a bleed out to an extent, maybe. And Skybound Shot's the only red arrow I picked up in that pack. So I'm sitting here basically in this pack 1, thinking even if there's only 1 ranger on my left, and I'm going to get some decent ranger cards this pack, my pack 3 I'm going to be very hard pressed to pick up red arrows, and I need a couple more pumps and a couple more red arrows. I haven't really seen pumps beyond that scout I took and the yellow come to fight, which is not particularly a good signal, especially early. So I'm thinking there's probably 3 rangers in this pod already, and someone might have done somewhere similar where they're kind of in between and could be a 4th or could be an assassin, and that's why I sort of didn't see assassin cards well. So I'm thinking I probably need to lean towards an assassin at this point, but I think in my head I was still trying to think maybe I could be Riptide. So again, looking at pack distribution just so I know for what's in this pack, what I'm passing and what I can potentially wheel back. Fisticuffs is a really good option. This pack I think was quite strong. I was thinking it was a card I could potentially actually wheel. You've got 2 red stealth cards, yellow head jab, which is fine. If there's rangers fighting for these cards, there's a yellow scout, yellow sedation shot. So I thought it probably wouldn't get back to me. Yeah, so I take the red infect here. I think it's the best card in the pack, debatably, and I'm already heading down the assassin route at this point. I think, like I say, it's going to be too hard for me to try and play ranger. So things I'm looking out for now for the rest of this pack, if I'm going to, I either want to find some big, good, solid generics to get into Azuri, or I want to find just good attacks. Maybe they're not as powerful, some good stealth cards, red stealth cards, and some attack reactions if I'm more going to go down the Arachne route. So looking here at what I could potentially take, I mean, the freewheeling Renegades I think is a pretty reasonable pick. There's another Be Like Water, probably. So if I'm going to go down the assassin route, the reason I didn't just immediately just swap the sneak attack straight to the front and want to play it is if I do end up in Arachne, it is a lot harder. I need something. I don't have a piece of equipment that can already trigger that attack reaction. I need pumps and specifically short and sharp with that. But short and sharp is really good with yellow sneak attack, so I do end up taking it. And then we've got another trap. We've got a Peace of Mind red. We've got some cards that are going to lean well to what could be, this more kind of grindy, potentially dagger-driven assassin deck. Peace of Mind, I think, is really, really strong. I haven't picked up any Seekers at this point. So So I think that might lead me towards Blood Rock Trap. I think Blood Rock is the worst of the traps, though. It's only particularly good in the story. So yeah, I take the Peace of Mind. I think the card's just too strong not to take. All right. So looking here, looks like, yeah, so 2 Ranger cards in the pack. And what's that? 1. So looks like someone to my left might be the, oh no, there's the blue black water. So equipment has been taken from this pack. Yeah, okay. So in this situation, I think for me, Red Virulent, it's between the Red Virulent Touch and Isolate. I think Isolate is not particularly the best red. I really like it in blue. But I think at this point, I'm looking like it's going to be hard to... I think there's Azuris. Am I right? I don't think I'm going to get good cards to swap in pack 3. Thinking I'm probably going to have to lean more towards Arachne. So looking at a card like Isolate here to pick up, and I think Virulent Touch is a lot better in if I was either Riptide or Azuri. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think that card's really good, but I think I need to prioritize getting some red stealth cards so that I can kind of play out my plan here. I think I want like 6 to 8 of these red stealth cards in my Arachne deck if I can. And I can also, if I get pumps, it's a good way to end the game with pumps on top. I've got Scout the Periphery, etc. I've got ways to abuse that dominate potentially. Okay, you can see, I mean, there's like no Ranger cards in this pack, right? Get back there to where this card gets picked up. We can take a look at kind of the story of this draft so far. So yeah, you can see multiple assassin cards. Looks like the assassins are definitely probably to my right, unless the generics are really good. Ninja cards still in the pack, yeah, and 1 Widowmaker. So yeah, it looks like, and no hybrid card. So backstab. So it looks like we're probably Ranger, maybe Ranger or Assassin to the left of us. Yeah, look at these ninja cards. I think if this was, like I say, a draft where I wasn't trying to test as much and trying to essentially just stay as open as possible, I probably would have dipped my hand into ninja once we saw that sort of pick 4, pick 5 with double ninja cards, blue, block 3 ninja, red head jab, things like that. As it stands, not particularly great. Card taken, and yeah, you can see no assassin card in the pack. So starting to think there's probably going to be 4 assassins at the table, which is going to make it difficult. I can't tell if I'm pretty certain at this point it's just 1 ninja, and it looks between 3 to either 3 Ranger, 4 assassin, or 4 assassin, 3 ninja. Pod's probably going to more support 3 Ranger, 4 assassin, but it did feel like there was, I think there's probably 3 to my right, and then the person to my left or a left of them has probably had the decision on where they go. I would say based on pack 1 and then dictating with pack 2. They might have been halfway between like I kind of was. So take a yellow Peace of Mind there. I picked up a Seeker's Headpiece the pick before, so... And this is the card that's going to complement perfectly a second Peace of Mind with that yellow one is a Seeker's Leggings. Again, just looking through the pack. There is a range card, but it's a Fletch the Yellowtail. An Assassin. And yeah, I'm just taking another second pick there. No Assassin card. Rabble I'm not particularly interested in when I'm playing Assassin. Maybe if I was still in Ranger, then I'd be more interested in a yellow Rabble. Definitely a red I would be interested in. I'd be interested in red and Assassin. But, you know, I just cards that are Seeker's Leggings very powerful with my Peace of Mind there. Going to do a lot of work for me. We can through our next pack. All right. So we've got a leg piece. And then now we've come back to a couple of assassin cards. So I'm thinking probably, you know, our assassins have picked up some good generics they want in their deck. So probably Azuri drafters, to be honest. I mean, I'll take what I think is the best blue stealth card. And then we get immediately rewarded with red stealth. So in a pretty good spot. And this was 1, 2, 3. That we're passing 5. So that was our wheeled pack. So still having the sedate in there looks pretty good for us. Actually looks like we might have 4 Ranger drafters and 3 assassins. So at this point, to be honest, it doesn't really matter for me in the draft. I'm kind of committed. But working out where they are, whether on my left and right, can probably help me to know what I may or may not wheel in pack 3. So trying to work that out is interesting. So I'm slowly piecing it together in this draft of where people are sitting. I actually think the Ninja drafter is to my right, just based on sort of the end of pack 1. And I think we've got like multiple Rangers to the right of that player. So on my right mostly are the Ranger players and the Assassin on my left, which means that I'm going to be able to hopefully get like 6 to 7 really good picks in the last pack, which is going to help my deck. And then we're here just thinking, okay, do I want a yellow that maybe has some utility, or do I want a blue for my deck? My deck can play blues pretty well. I've got double Peace of Mind at this point, so that's pretty reasonable. I've got some 1 cost to dagger into 1 cost. But I've also got some 0 costs, and picking up something like yellow feisty locals would be an okay sort of card in my deck at this point. I think that's a little bit underrated, especially if you pair it with a pump. You know, a Scout the Periphery. I want targets for that card, plus yellow come to fight. So it's either that or probably the blue Bleed Out, I think. Yellow Plunge, I really don't want that. Even red, I've actually not been a huge fan of that card. It's a card that's fallen down my pick order a lot. I think red is okay, but yellow, I really don't want that card. So yeah, I'd rather just have the feisty locals, I think. Or will I? No, we'll take the blue card. Still debating. Had this been a competitive draft, I would have run out of time by now. The Pendulum Trap comes around. I mean, that's not really a big signal. That card is one of the worst. But the Toxic Tips comes back around, which is pretty huge. So I'm debating between that and the Seekers, just about like playables. And this is when I start to think about where the Assassin drafters are. And I think I end up deciding on Toxic Tips here because I think, well, I'm going to get cards that can replace Seek Horizon in Pack 3 from my right, because I'm going to be in a better seat than I am for Pack 2, just because I think the Assassins are mostly to my left. Like the playable. So at this point, I'm feeling my deck is like, it's okay, it's fine. What it's lacking is kind of ways to win the game, to be honest. It's got some good defensive options. It's got some good ways to trade hands with the opponent with a couple of like red stealth cards to go again. And, you know, a couple of cards to, you know, like cut down to force cards out. I can have a potentially big turn with like Bleed Out, for instance. You know, something like Pitch a Blue, Dagger, Bleed Out, Feisty Locals or something is like a perfectly fine hand. But what I'd really like to see in this third pack, you know, is like probably a way to trigger my sneak attack. I've only got the short and sharp at the moment. And a couple more red stealth cards and some pumps. Some pumps that can either defend 3 or go over the top of those stealth cards is going to be really important. At this point, I'm basically thinking I can't play Azuri here. So I'm going to need to find a way to trigger that yellow stealth, yellow sneak attack rather. And I could probably use a couple of blues. Really happy with my equipment suite here. They feel really good. Feeling happy with my having a few traps. Frailty Trap, I think the best trap in this format. So happy with that. Scout gives you some options. Yeah. Right. Skip through onto the last pack. We got a red Peace of Mind. Not too bad. I'm also going to think about what I'm wheeling in Pack 3 is more important to me, I think, because I now know where everyone is kind of sitting, so I can kind of understand it a bit better. So I'm looking, I mean, I should be able to wheel like at minimum this yellow prop. Maybe this yellow Virulent Touch which would be fantastic. So I don't think those are of interest. I think those 3 cards there, well, 4 actually, Cut Down Yellow, Freewheeling Renegades, Peace of Mind, and Malign. Now, I think because I'm not an Azuri, I'm less interested in something like, you know, the Freewheeling Renegades, I think. I mean, it's really good. I think I'm still a bit short on red stealth cards. And I'm going to be able to wheel something relevant for an end chain, something like a Virulence Touch. Don't think we get the Freewheeling Renegades back, of course. Peace of Mind is the other card here, as just maybe just taking, you know, what is possibly the most powerful card in the pack. Red Peace of Mind is so strong. So I can't remember what I take in this pick. I think I do end up with a couple of Peace of Minds in my deck, so maybe I just take the Peace of Mind here. Yeah, there we go. And I think there's options to wheel from this pack. So taking the Peace of Mind, taking a strong card means that, you know, I'm not taking a card that I actually think I might be able to wheel out of the pack. Well, immediately Red Infect is a good place to be. And that looks like Death Touch is blue, I believe, is this color of Death Touch. So the card I do want, again, I think, I mean, good in all Ranger and Assassin, to be honest. I would much prefer it to be yellow or red. The strength of some of these Ranger cards. So just sorting out what's been taken from the pack here. I'm still interested to see what my left has taken. It looks like they've taken generic. So I think, yeah, it's just clearly for me between the blue Death Touch and the Infect. I think since I know I'm going to be Arachne, I think that the Infect it's the best stealth card. I think it red. And I'm hoping to pick up 1 or 2 more pumps, so I think that's the card I want to pair with it. Inertia Trap in this pack. What else we got? A couple of Lace with Frailties coming through here late. I think the person to my right is the Ranger, that's for sure. So we have a red Rebel. Really reasonable card here. Another red Scout the Periphery. Probably not what I want in my deck now that I know I'm definitely an Assassin. And a red Spring Load. I think I take a card that I kind of regret here because of what I thought I was trying to do in this draft. I think the best pick here is probably the red Spring Load. I just want cards that push damage and have ways to push damage and give me ways to win the game, basically. I think it's the best card here. I think Ravenous Rabble is like the worst of them. There's a reasonable amount of blues and yellows in my deck. I don't really necessarily need to go again, but it is good. Like, to be able to attack with your hand is good, especially in mirrors and stuff. I think Inertia Trap is not the card I want here, but I do think is the card I think I end up taking. I think I should have taken the Spring Load here. I think that would have contributed to my deck a lot more than this Inertia Trap. Yeah, so I regret on that pick there in hindsight. What do we got? Another Red Malign. A couple of cards that we could potentially wheel here, like Blue Seek, Yellow Virulent Touch. I think people are quite low on that card. Freewheeling Renegades is not as a card I wouldn't be upset to wheel. Like, there's some strong cards in here, and the problem is that we know ninja cards are going to wheel. So I think in this pack it's just like Malign is not the best red stealth card, but it plays around cards like Peace of Mind and Brush Off, which is quite nice when you put pumps on it. Again, I haven't really found the pumps yet. I really would love to see like a red Razor's Edge here, and this is probably the last pack I'm gonna get the chance to see it. Well, we see a yellow one. But we also see a Humble in the pack and a Cut Down. I think Humble is better than Cut Down to size. Sometimes they just block the one card, take the damage, whereas if they're playing something like Azalea, maybe even Riptide, Azure can just derail their plans with the Humble. So we take the yellow Humble there. Perfect. Red Infect, that's what we like to see. Even a red Isolate in the pack. I mean, Infect is definitely the superior card there. The one pick I'm regretting in this draft is not taking the Seeker's Gilet as well. I really wish I had that in my deck. It would have been a lot better. We're getting to the business end of the draft now. My deck's not too bad, but I would really love a few cards that could just round it out. I mean, a red Feisty Locals is a good chain ender. Not particularly interested in the Yellow Rebel. Blue Cut Down to Size is a good blue that has utility late, especially in the mirror matches. Once you go to second cycle. Infectious Host is a card that is just really underrated. And spoiler alert, I end up taking the Yellow Infectious Host here, and it wins me a game. The card is so strong. It wins me a mirror match, or a match against Azuri rather, where I was given a Frailty and a Blood Rot, and return serve by playing my whole hand and ending with that to give them a Frailty and a Blood Rot after they didn't block the first two chain links. It's just, that card is so good. I mean, in that situation, it's a 0 for 5 immediately with the Blood Rot. You could almost call it a 0 for 7 depending on how they choose to defend. If they're trying to swing back with daggers, probably more like a 0 for 6 with Frailty, which is, it's really good. So yeah, really happy I picked that up there. I think the blues aren't up to much, and I have a lot of 0 costs. I don't need as many blues, so just take the yellow block 3 stealth attack that has some relevancy in my deck. And there we go. So yeah, 6 cards left in the pack. We wheel a Virulent Touch and a Cut Down to Size, actually. I think because of my cost structure in my deck, I do want some more zeros. I've got Humble, I've got the Cut Down to Size, and some 1 cost. I think taking that there makes sense. 3 block Assassin card, can't really go wrong with Prowl. Not really interested in the Spring Load particularly. So all in all, feeling pretty happy. Well, happy with my pivot in this draft. Trying to start Ranger early and recognizing that I was not going to get the Ranger deck I wanted, the Riptide deck I wanted. Having a semi-hedge with those traps, I think is a way to do that. Took a piece of equipment, took not a piece of equipment, actually took a generic, and then moved into this Assassin deck with a reasonable seat for it. I think I could have dictated into the Ninja. It was a bit awkward because I think the person to my left probably should have been. As it turned out, the person on my right was definitely the Ninja, which was kind of my hunch as it was going. That's a good wheel there. Freewheeling Renegades. It's a nice chain ender for the deck. So just looking for some tokens already. I could have been Ninja, but I actually think, the person to my right is a Ninja. I think I fed someone 2 really good Ninja cards to put either immediate left or person next to me left into the Ninja spot there. I'm going to pop up now. You're not going to see it over the top, but my deck is now up on screen that I ended up with. It feels pretty well rounded, I think. I've got some good options. I think the traps ended up being really good. This is a 3-0 deck in the end. I wouldn't say this is by means a 3-0 deck that I drafted, but I do end up 3-0. I think this is probably more like a 2-1. I think I salvaged a draft here. I think I put myself in a reasonably good spot despite maybe not reading or not putting myself into Ninja immediately. And Twin Twisters is a card I really like. Had I first picked that Twin Twisters, I would have just stayed on Ninja the whole time and felt in a pretty good situation. Based on the cards that were coming around, I would have drafted Benji, I think. I was getting a little bit dictated to by another Ninja drafter, which you could kind of see towards the end of pack 1 and pack 3. So, but I was, it was Be Like Waters and stuff were coming around. I think I could have had a pretty good Benji deck. But as I say, end up with this Arachne deck. And I mean, some of the standouts, definitely the equipment suite. Scout the Periphery was like quite awkward in my deck, ended up being a bit tough, but the Peace of Mind, my defensive suite with the traps, and then just being able to present, Dagger off a blue or a yellow into a red stealth card, into a threat at the end, be that a 1 cost or a 0 cost, and then on off turns, defending with a trap plus a card, coming in with something like Cut Down to Size or Humble, really good for disrupting. So in the end, played 2 mirrors, and it ended up in a pretty good spot, I think. There you have it, an Outsiders draft done this very past weekend, pre-recorded for you this episode so that you can you see a draft walkthrough as opposed to me just not doing an episode this week on limited time only. So if this is something that you've enjoyed, then please let me know down in the comments. Give it a like, give us a sub here on Arsenal Pass. We really appreciate it. We're trying to put out the best Flesh and Blood content that we can, covering all things from not just limited, but of course if you check out the main pod and our gameplay videos, deck techs, all those good things. Now, we'll be back next week with a full episode with a great guest. We've got a few amazing guests coming up over the next couple of weeks. We're going to start to dive into things like heroes, specifically, and archetypes. So we'll be covering the 3 classes, the 6 heroes, and the archetypes that are available in this format, and the ways that myself and my guests that will be joining me like to look at this format and how we like to draft. And so we'll be going through. Now, in this draft, it ended up being a 4 Assassin, 3 Ranger, 1 Ninja. Obviously, I was speculating through the draft and through my commentary as well about what I thought the table might look like. I knew it was 1, 3, 4. I just didn't know which way the 3 and which way the 4 was until we got sort of towards the end of the pack. Even then, with the generics, strict the generics in this and hybrid cards and things, it can be a bit more difficult to tell, especially when you do have a 3 versus a 4, which is interesting. Now, I think the quality of the Assassin cards was reasonably high and supported that. I think there was one pretty good Assassin deck at the table. I think mine was okay. I think mine was just solid. There was a deck that I played in the final, which was another Arachne. So it was an Arachne mirror, and they had some really great cards, but they also had some pretty average cards. And I think my deck on the whole par was a bit better. I think the Ninja deck was the best deck at the table. He did unfortunately fall to the Arachne, so we didn't get to play a game. They had a pretty close game by all accounts, and it looked like a very strong deck. So yeah, really interesting draft at the table there. Now, Arachne, not something I'm particularly looking to get into a lot of the time, but I do think Arachne is really solid. If you don't find those generic swappers or those good swap cards that you can push in with stealth cards, then it's a really good archetype to go down. If you can pick up some just really solid red things like Infect, red stealth cards, good go wide chain enablers, and just be able to put up more. I think Arachne can service the defensive cards really well as well. Azuri can as well, but I think Arachne does that quite well and then plays really well into the mirror because you get that go again off your attacks. You can utilize your cards a little bit better, which is quite nice. So instead of looking to maybe potentially defend with an excess stealth card, you can actually attack with it because you get go again, which is quite nice. So yeah, I do really like Arachne playing into Azure as well, especially when I have the defensive cards. So it did feel pretty well rounded with that deck. Now, that's going to do it for this bonus episode of Arsenal Pass, limited time only, calling it episode 3.5. We'll be back next week with our proper 4th episode and a great guest joining us. See you next time.